User-generated content in video games? Question mark?
Do we like it? Do we hate it?
Let's give our initial opinion on 3.
Go for it.
1, 2, 3.
Like
Good.
it.
Like it. Yeah, love it. I think it's a great thing. I think it's one of the best things you could possibly put into a game, personally. No, that's not true, but...
I guess let's define it first. Like, if you don't know what we mean by user-generated content, it's when you're given the opportunity in a game to make either, like, game modes or add on your own kind of thing, whether it's completely separate for the game or added on into the game.
Maps, like game modes.
Mm-hmm.
I would say even like mods, like skins and and weapons and things of that nature, new quests. That would all be encompassed in user-generated content, UGC. We'll just call it user-generated content.
UGC.
I'm not going to say UGC.
No? Okay.
We can.
I feel like we're not going to say it that much.
Yeah, agreed.
From here on out. Like, we've already established what it is.
We're talking about user-generated content, ladies and gentlemen.
That's the topic of this conversation.
Yes, this is the feature of the day.
So, what made us talk about this was Far Cry 5's arcade mode. This week, it was featured as a live event in Far Cry 5, was to go and spend 40 minutes playing arcade mode. And so that gave me a chance to really dive in, play around with it, and just kind of experience some of the stuff that Ubisoft had made kind of to go into it, and then stuff that other people had made. And
we wanted
to...
go ahead.
So far, I feel like with Far Cry, it's still really young, and people haven't really gotten into the depths of the map maker. The map maker is legitimate, like, through and through, detailed as hell. Like, you can go in and tweak terrains, you can go in and use either pre-made maps and add on to them, or just start with a flat surface and build it up however you want. Trees, we're talking buildings, we're talking put enemy AIs where you want them to. We're talking all of that shit. If you wanted to have a multiplayer, like, team deathmatch arena with Yetis running around attacking everybody, you could do that. That's what's crazy to me is, like, the possibilities with Far Cry 5's map maker, it's so deep. There's like 9,000 assets. I don't know how accurate it is. That's what they've said. I'm not going to go through and count them all. But it is detailed and it is thorough. And I'm excited to see what kind of happens with Far Cry's later stuff, as people have gotten more comfortable with it. Because some of the stuff that Ubisoft had made, which was kind of featured with the arcade mode already, like one was like a journey map that you have to basically get to from point A to point B. And the first one I played was like a space kind of area where it was like all these weird, like, it felt like something out of Destiny where it was like these like rock or metal like geometrical shapes kind of pointing you in the right direction, and you were doing like grapple jumps and swinging from place to place and trying to get, it was timed. And so, and all you had was, like, a fucking crossbow with explosive arrows. And so you'd see, like, a couple of guys here and there, and you'd have to kill them, but they didn't really slow you down a whole lot. But there was a point, like, and there was, like, this ATV that I had to jump on and ride it to the end of the map. I accidentally blew up the ATV, so I had to restart it.
Sounds like an obstacle course.
Yeah, but like a jumping puzzle obstacle course.
Right.
And then the other, a second one I did following that was like this weird, like, haunted house type thing, but like as you went through it, like the orientation of the room would change. So like some rooms would be upside down and some would be sideways, and you're sitting there having to figure out how to like climb out of the house to get to the end point. And then I played some Team Deathmatch as well, which Team Deathmatch, it's Team Deathmatch. I don't I don't really like Far Cry's, like, it's not my favorite shooter as far as just gunplay feels.
I can see that.
And I know that's like the main mechanic of the game, but it's like I definitely feel more comfortable behind like Fortnite or Destiny, and I just feel like it's so sensitive, and there's very little aim assist on console, which makes it really hard to like consistently land shots. And so you see people using like a lot of shotguns more, or like explosives. I felt like some guy just kept throwing like remote C4 around and blowing people up a lot. And
I could see it being like, it's just not optimized for PvP combat. You know,
Right.
It's optimized for you for PvE, for you fighting against, you know, the single player campaign, co-op campaign.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
already
for
set
sure.
there. So it's, I can see that. I guess makes sense. Makes sense. They didn't build the game to be a PvP shooter.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the more like PvE arcade stuff that I did more. I'm just worried that it is going to get kind of like cookie cutter after a while, because I mean there are kind of constraints on the maps, and it is kind of like a journey is get from point A to point B, or an outpost is just kill everybody in the area, or I mean, like, you know what game modes they have in there, and I don't know, I guess I'm waiting to see what people do with them, because looking back at some previous examples, like Halo 3, they took game modes that people made and, like, created just out of fun and boredom in Halo 3 and made them actual real game modes. Like, zombies in Halo wasn't a thing before Halo 3, and somebody made it. And, like, once you died, you joined the enemy team, you were a zombie, and all you had was like a sword, and you had to chase them down. I mean, Infected, I think, is what they ended up calling it.
They ended up calling it Infected, but it was called Zombies originally. I remember when that game mode first came out. The Forge in general, I think we're going to go back and kind of look at some of the biggest user-generated content games in the past. The Forge was huge. I mean, I remember there was guys who made a beer pong game in the Forge, and it was like this giant map with giant cups on his like big table. People would you would hit a, I forget what
gravity
item it was.
hammer.
Yeah, it was gravity hammers with the ball.
It's like Griff Ball, but with the gravity hammer. And you would try to knock it into
Okay. Yes. Cool. It was like Griff Ball. And Griff Ball is another example of a Halo 3 game, user generated. So I think Halo is a great example of, especially with first person shooters, what you can do with a really big user generated, a really open user generated system.
Well, and a great community behind it. And I feel like having a great creation tool makes it so that you can kind of boost more community engagement.
I agree.
I feel like that's what's going to keep Far Cry 5 alive longer than it should. Because Far Cry 4, I bought it probably a year after release. I got it off of like the Xbox game store, and nobody was playing it. Right? Like, I could not find a co-op session to join.
No.
And so I think, and nobody was talking about it. Nobody kept playing. No one hung on to Far Cry 5. I think this arcade mode, or 4, I think the arcade mode will help 5 kind of keep some longevity in between, DLCs, in between story content, whatever they choose to add on to it. I definitely think it could add some life to Far Cry as far as longevity is concerned.
I agree, and especially if you do get that Halo-type community behind it, who's like 100%, well, not 100%, but who's really big and like creating new and unique ideas for it. That's the thing, is like you were saying, you were describing like a journey or like a kill, take out the outpost. Those are all like really, or deathmatch. Those are all simple game modes.
Right.
Like, so it's really going to come down, who's going to come up with like a really unique, cool, fun, user-generated.
I like the idea of doing like a death match, but having like random animals running around trying to kill you as well.
Right.
Like it's just in the game.
That would be cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like a... Yeah, no, that would...
I don't know. Yeah, it's like I want to get in there and kind of look around and see like what the possibilities could be, but there's no telling. There was one, like, I played that basically it said like kill all the people, and there was one guy, and as soon as I loaded it in, a bear ate him, and then there's just a bunch of like animals chasing you as you're trying to get to like some other guy at the end of the map. So it was like a journey, but it wasn't, because there was like, you had to kill the guy at the end, and there was like bears and shit chasing you. And
all right, that sounds So
because there's things you can do. Spice it up.
But like what I would really look for though is like, do they create a Griff Ball type of game, like something that's really out there that really nobody like, not that I want a Griff Ball in Far Cry, but just something like in the same vein, if that makes sense.
Right, like I think haunted houses could be something fun.
Yeah,
right. It's not necessarily challenging or hard, but like it's spooky and creepy and like it could just be neat.
Yeah,
like the one that I did that. I think Ubisoft had made it. It had a bunch of like mannequins
Just all over the place.
Just like in pieces all over the place. Like some would be like there was a bunch of arms like sticking out of a wall, and they were like grabbing this other one, like a full mannequin, and like holding it into the wall. And
it's kind of funny.
Be like some bear on the wall that had like mannequin arms in its mouth or some shit. You know, like weird stuff like that. And so like I definitely think there's a lot of space to do to make stuff, and I'm interested to see what the community has to like offer from that.
So let's talk about some of our favorite user-generated content games.
Well, we've already touched on Halo.
We touched on Halo, which is, I think both of us agree, was a great one.
It was awesome.
Yeah, so there's one on here I would like to mention at some point, but I haven't played Doom. They've got the snap maps.
Right.
Which seemed like a good idea. It's a lot less complex than Far Cry 5's map builder, but it's still a cool idea. You can still make unique custom maps. Yeah, I mean, that's cool.
And run around and shoot demons on Mars. like
and just like tear their heads off. And
I think Mario Maker is a good example because
it's a great example. Yeah,
that's basically their platform for the entire game was make stuff and play other people's stuff. And the same with Little Big Planet.
I was gonna say Little Big Planet and Mario Maker both together are the whole point of the game is user generated.
And I think to an extent Minecraft as well.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, Minecraft as well.
Like just because of the servers that people have created, and like you can go in and there's anything from like roller coasters to
Minecraft really was built as a like build your own world. There wasn't they didn't add a single player campaign until years after the game.
And that was a Telltale game.
Oh, was it
story mode?
No, they have like story mode. Isn't that a
No, it's like a Telltale game.
Seriously?
Yeah, you play that was Steve, but he's like
I thought that was like a Minecraft
it's like voice acted
game.
And everything. No.
Oh wow! Well, we see what I know.
I don't think it was made by Telltale, and I could be wrong. But
I see what you mean, though. It's not.
But it's that kind of like story.
Right. It's not like a campaign in Minecraft. It's like a story.
Yeah, it is. It's a Telltale
game. Yeah,
with seasons.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Mario Maker's crazy. I mean, people come up with some really awesome map ideas in that. Little Big Planet, people come up with some really great. And then Minecraft, people have these incredible creations that they build in that game.
I had a friend, we used to like remake just different like architectural structures. I know we were working on the Mercedes-Benz before we like graduated from college. We had built up the full like grounds level of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, just based off the renderings that we had found previously.
The roof would be a pain.
Yeah, we didn't make it. Well, because we were playing on Xbox 360 at the time, and they couldn't generate a map big enough for us to actually make it to the scale that we wanted to.
Yeah.
And so we got all the way through with the ground floor, and we were building like the outside of it, and realized that we were like on the edge of the map. And it was like, oh, well.
The benefits of PC.
Yeah. Exactly.
Another game I wanted to mention on our list here, Divinity Original Sin. 1 and 2.
1 and 2, yeah.
2 especially. So in that game, you can create your own maps and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can, on top of creating your own map and putting your own everything in it, filling it up yourself, changing the environments of the maps and everything, you can also write your own story for it, which I think is a really cool aspect. I mean, you can literally create a D&D style campaign in this game.
With options and
consequences
and like dice rolls.
Exactly. Like it's got if you ever wanted to play a D&D game, Divinity Original Sin is the best D&D game.
And I guess to kind of piggyback off that, there was Sword Coast Adventures. Or no, Sword Coast Legends? I can't. It was one of the two. It was a D&D game, but it was basically a dungeon crawler. But one player could play as the dungeon master and throw in like mobs and stuff here and there, or create a map and then put you in it, and then still like mess with things as you were kind of going through it.
So that just had the dungeon crawl element,
right? Whereas Divinity is more of like you can create campaigns.
It really has
like
the RPG element, right? I mean, it is like
you have to put in the time and effort,
right? You have to build it all yourself. But that's another thing. Like you can, if other users build it, you could still. It's like the original campaign's pretty long and is fun,
right?
But the replayability is like someone else makes this equally as long campaign, and it's like boom, you've got another whole almost brand new game that you can play through.
And you can just keep creating content. I know, like back when they were showcasing it a little bit, they actually worked with Wizards of the Coast and took the D&D 5th edition starter set and translated it into Divinity.
Yeah,
and
which
so
is cool.
Having played that real campaign, in real life, the real starter set campaign, it was pretty long. Us playing it back then, it was a very...
It took us months.
Yeah, it took us a couple months to get through
Meeting every week, yeah. So.
And so... I mean, the scale of content that you can make in it...
Huge. It's
huge,
limitless.
For sure.
And I mean, again, it's it's another level than just it's not just to create a dungeon crawler. It's and I mean, even the style of combat in Divinity is like D&D. It's not actiony, it's very turn-based.
Take your action points,
Here's your action points.
You've used all your spell slots.
Exactly,
type of thing, yeah.
There's one other that isn't on our list that I wanted to mention, which is StarCraft and Warcraft 3.
Yes.
StarCraft the original and Warcraft 3.
StarCraft 2 even.
StarCraft 2.
Both of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if StarCraft the original had it, but...
I know StarCraft 2 did.
StarCraft 2 definitely did. StarCraft 3, though, is what I used to spend a lot of time... I'm pretty sure I've talked about this on here before, but I used to spend a lot of time playing custom games in Warcraft 3. I mean, that was my high school. Loved Warcraft 3. But I think that needs to be mentioned is that literally spawned MOBAs.
Yeah. It did.
Defense of the Ancients, Dota, which was a Warcraft 3 custom game, literally ended up becoming one of the biggest game genres in the world.
Yeah.
So, to give you the idea of how powerful user-generated content can be, you can literally create another example of another genre being created out of user-generated. Exactly. Yeah. PUBG, Arma 3,
look at this
Arma 2. Arma 2 mod. It is literally just an Arma 2 mod, and it became literally right now the biggest game genre in the entire world.
Exactly. I know I've played some things on StarCraft 2 back in the day that are now phone games. There was one that was a puzzle game that you would it was basically like Candy Crush, but you would get rewards, you would get units as rewards, and so it turned into this puzzle fighter game. Where you try to do the stack 3, and then you get some stuff, and it would send it out, and you'd see just the two fighting in the lane.
Oh, I know exactly what you're
trying to build this. And I'm trying to remember some of the old stuff, but there's definitely I've played games now that are literally that on iPhone, but with different type of mechanics. So it's I played one that was a puzzle RPG fighter game that depending on which ones you would line up, you would do different attacks and stuff, and so that kind of thing is all things that. I think they have their origins in other games that people have made.
Exactly. It's crazy. I mean, I remember, for me, Warcraft 3 not only created MOBA 2, it completely revolutionized the tower defense genre in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like you were saying, there's tower defenses where you have units who and then spawn enemies that come at you. You have tower defenses. Nobody will know what I'm talking about, but there was a game mode called Maul, M-A-U-L, in Warcraft 3, and you would build a maze with your buildings that all the enemy units had to go through. So they'd have to go through your maze to get through to the end.
Well, that's basically tower defense.
Right, but in normal tower defense, you're up on a perch. And you're just shooting shit that goes through a pre-made maze. You literally made the maze out of your units. Your buildings were the maze.
Yeah.
So, I just love that. I used to play the shit out of malls. But, so the point is...
Yeah.
This user-generated content can quite literally change the literal face of gaming in general. I mean, it has changed the entire face of gaming with the result of, again, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds was a user-generated content game.
Yeah.
MOBAs, user-generated content games. I mean, again, I would say those are probably the two biggest genres in games right now, or some of the two biggest.
Do we know any good examples of UGC that didn't work? Or broke games? Or, off the top of my head, I don't know.
I'm really trying to think. I don't know.
To me, I think mods, I know and a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but I know that there's, a lot of times when you get in and you start modding content, it gets a little out of hand.
So, I guess you could make the argument that, Skyrim or Fallout 4, I would never in a million years say that the user-generated content is a bad thing for the game, but it can definitely break games. I mean, if your PC can't handle it, or you put two mods that just don't work with each other, they'll break your game.
I just mean in general, like, I feel like, going in and giving yourself a master sword and a shield that can fucking tank anything, it's like, it kills the fun of it.
It breaks the game in that sense, too. I agree with you. Like, not physically breaking the game, but it breaks the game in the sense that you're basically cheating. I mean,
right, and that's to me, like, I don't know. I get tired, like, I get bored of GTA even when you stick on all of the cheats for it. It's like, if the cops can't kill me, then what's the point of running from them?
But to be fair, I guess why I don't really have a problem with it ultimately is it's optional, right? Like, you don't have to cheat.
Well, all
you
UGC
don't have to
is
mod.
Optional.
Right. So that's why I don't think it's hard to break a game with user-generated content because
you don't have to. Right,
because you literally just don't ever have to use it. I mean, I'm sure that there's an example somewhere out there. If you guys want to comment down below or let us know any games that you know where the user-generated content was a complete failure to the point that it actually made the regular game worse, I'm sure there's examples of user-generated content that just sucks. Like, where the tools they gave the players are so crap that it's like, why is this even in here?
Right, like they gave you the option and just no one participated in it. And like the reason I don't know about it is because it would be games that no one talks about having UGC.
Right, you wouldn't even think of it as a thing. Right.
I don't know. I think we have a lot of great examples here, and I'm really looking forward to see what happens with Far Cry 5 down the line. I hope it ends up being something similar to like Halo 3's or like just further down the line, like really hoping that some great stuff comes out of it.
Yeah, like a year from now you get on and you're like, wow, there's this huge game mode that's blown up.
Yeah. But I guess that's really all we have to say about that.
We love it. Go out there and make some of your own content, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and if you make anything cool in Far Cry 5 or have made anything cool in any other games and you want us to check it out, send us a link, tweet at us, or throw it in the YouTube comments, and just let us know what you've made, whether it's good or bad. I know there's some people, I play some of my streaming buddies that have made some maps on Far Cry and stuff, and so like go ahead, send us links to like a video of you playing through it or whatever.
Yeah, we'd love to see your guys' creations. Yeah. Even if it's not great, it's still you took the time and effort to do it. So
we'll tweet it out, we'll share it out if you like it. It's cool. So just reach it out, let us know.